Welcome to the Designer Practice Podcast. I'm your host, Kayla Das, and I am a Canadian social worker, business coach, and private practice owner. I love all things systems, strategies, and step-by-step processes, helping therapists and coaches design a private practice that doesn't only provide practice profitability, but also the time freedom that they had initially set out to achieve. In this podcast, we'll discuss everything from private practice startup to passive income to building automated systems so that you spend less time inside of your practice and more time outside of it doing the things that you love. Let's dive in. Today's podcast episode is sponsored by Jane app. Before we dive into today's episode, let's chat about Jane. Jane is an all-in-one practice management software that can help you manage your practice with a suite of features that makes it easy to meet with individuals, couples, and families. Jane is easy to use even for the least tech-savvy user. Reliability and security are important parts of running a private practice, so Jane is both PIPEDA and HIPAA compliant, and your data is stored safely in the country that you practice, so no matter where or how you practice, Jane is always with you in the most secure and helpful way possible. Whether you work from home or in an office, you can be confident that you'll finish your session notes quickly and securely. Wherever you have Wi-Fi, you have Jane. And Jane's support team is always ready to lend a helping hand. You can learn more at kayladas.com/Jane. That's kayladas.com/Jane. And when you use the promotional code EVASPARE1MO, that's EVASPARE1MO, you'll receive a 1-month grace period on your new Jane account. So check out Jane today. Welcome back to the Designer Practice Podcast, and I'm your host, Kayla Das. Imagine what it would be like if you had your website set up in less than an hour and it easily integrated with your practice management software. It would essentially free up time and streamline your entire practice. To discuss how this is even possible, Jon Morrison, consultant at Get Clear Consulting and Clinic Sites, will share with us the 4 essentials of having an outstanding website, as well as how you can integrate your website with Jane app, my favorite practice management software. Hi, Jon. Welcome to the show. I'm so glad to have you here today.
Hi, Kayla. Great to be here, and hello to everybody who's listening.
Jon, before we dive into today's episode, please introduce yourself, where you're from, and a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, my name is Jon Morrison. As you mentioned, I'm from Abbotsford, British Columbia, and live here with my lovely wife, Haley. We have 3 daughters, which keep us very busy. And when I'm not being dad, which is also turned into hockey coach and chauffeur and all kinds of interesting things that come along with parenting. Kayla, you'll learn all about that in the coming years. When I'm not doing that, I also love helping practitioners, clinicians, we could call them, whatever title you go by. If you're helping people, I love helping you with some of the tools you need to reach more people. So that's something that I got into probably about 8 years ago now, where I just learned that so many great chiropractors, physiotherapists, massage therapists, whatever service they're offering this world, there was a major problem of how do we get more people and how do I save some time? And websites were just one solution. Kayla, your podcast offers so many different ways to help this amazing group of people. And my little way to do it, my little piece of the pie in helping them is with websites. And so I just found that there wasn't a lot of people helping specifically with what do I need a website for? What does a website do? How do I know when a website is working? And so there was all these different components that I've just spent the last few years just talking about over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And I love doing it. It's just really fun to do. So that's who I am. And I'm happy to chat about whatever it is that you feel like we need to talk about going forward.
Fabulous. And one thing that I really want us to talk a little bit about, we're going to talk more about the Jane integration later, but tell us a little bit about Clinic Sites and some of the new exciting things that's happening at Clinic Sites.
Yeah, so Clinic Sites was started with the specific mission to help clinic owners with their website. So it's a very simple mission in that our name is Clinic Sites. So we help clinics with their website. And so a website has several components. that we need to be thinking about. We're always thinking about how does it look? And even in the 21st century, we're still judging books by their covers. We're still judging people by their clothes or by their hair. Sometimes if you come out wearing wild hair, people are like, interesting person. I'm wondering about them. As woke as we all want to be and progressive as we want to be, we're still making judgments about people by how they look. And we're still doing that when it comes to websites. And people will still judge businesses by their website. They'll judge clinics by their website. You can be the best practitioner, you can be the best clinician, but if your website is terrible, people are going to make a judgment about you. Whether that's justified or not, it's just human nature. So we're always working on how do we make our websites more beautiful, more attractive, more engaging. That's important. Also, to have this AI component is so neat too, right? In the last year, if you haven't heard about AI, I don't know where you've been, but maybe that sounds very liberating to live in a world where we didn't talk about AI all the time. But when the dads at my kids' pickup and drop off at their school were started talking about it, I knew that AI was a serious topic. And so Clinic Sites is now using AI integration to build websites. And that's not about bringing the robots to our world so they're walking up and down the streets. It's literally just making it easier for clinics to build websites. And so that's also exciting with Clinic Sites. We're trying to make the sites faster, which is better for Google loves a good, quick site. We all love a good, quick website. If you click on a site and it goes to a white screen and says loading or it's just a spinning wheel, we're going to bounce from that. We never want that to happen. We want fast sites. So we're always working on improving it and making it more user-friendly and getting to know more people. And so our relationship with Jane is strengthening as Jane continues to grow, that Clinic Sites continues to meet new people. And I'm a people person, so I love meeting new people. And that's a lot, but those are a few of the things that we're doing as we're always trying to do a better job of serving clinics with great websites.
Amazing. So let's go into what's the main purpose of having a private practice website?
Great question. The first thing that most people are thinking about and that you and I would go to first is obvious, getting more patients. If you talk to 10 different clinic owners, they're going to give you one answer. Why do you have a website? They're going to say, we want to get more patients. Everyone wants more patients. I get that because you want to help more people. And if you help more people, you make more money. If you make more money, you get more free time. You get more free time. You can take a vacation or better vacations. It's obvious. And the momentum of your practice starts to build. So who wouldn't want more patients? There's a few massage therapists that I know that don't want any more patients. Okay, them excluded. But most people, if they've got multi-staff, multi-discipline, they have some room and the website is where they go to for that. So that's the first thing. But it's not the only thing, Kayla. And I think that the other thing that people forget is that a great website can actually save you time. So if you talk to those same clinic owners that I said, do you want more patients? Most of them would say yes. If I said to them, do you want more time? All of them would say yes. And so to be given some more time out of your day, maybe even just like a minute or 30 seconds over and over and over, turns out to be hours over a week and turns out to be maybe even a week over a year. So if you could just save little 1 minute pockets all throughout the day, compound that over a year and you have a ton of time. Well, do you know what those little pockets are? It's that little email that you get from a new patient or a prospective patient that just says, hey, I just have a question about directions to get there. Or I just have a question about some of your philosophy of your practice. Or I just have this little question. And you can just bleed your time to death by 1,000 different paper cuts of one little questions. But if you put those on your website and those one little questions get answered by someone doing some due diligence or maybe even following up after they've scheduled the appointment, now they want to do some research. If your website has that, then they're not coming to you, which is going to free you up. So it saves you a ton of time. And then the third thing I think that will align with a lot of people that are listening is that a great website will actually be a resource to their community where you're actually answering some questions that people have. And not questions about location or cost or are you connected with various insurance? I mean, questions like, what do I do with a bad back? Or what do I do about hip pain? Or should I try this product? Or I'm not sleeping well enough. And so your website can become a resource for your community that is a continuation of your course of care that I bet you a lot of people listening really do care about people. And if it didn't have to come from their mouth, they might actually think, if I could be a resource and still provide the same outcomes, but it costs me a little bit less time because they're watching a video with me teaching it, or they're reading a blog, or they're reading about a certain condition or a service that we offer, and they're learning something, that is a resource to the world and to my community. So who wouldn't want to do that? So those are the three things that I think. There's probably way more things. It can be an art piece. It can impress your mother-in-law, right? Like if you have a really nice website and your mother-in-law was never really sold on you, but she goes to your website. It's like, oh, actually, you know what? This person's pretty good. Maybe they were good enough for my son or my daughter because their website's beautiful. Well, that's the fourth one. There may be some others out there, but let's just stick with the three for now. Keep our mother-in-laws out of this.
I love that. And I always say our website is our virtual office. And you would never have an office that was just a few chairs in a room, right? You would have a little bit of decoration. You would have maybe some coffee. You would have something to offer your clients. And that's really exactly what you're saying. Like your website is your virtual office. One, it gives them all the information that they need, like how to get there, all the questions that they need answered. But then also, it's a library. It's where people can go
Mm-hmm.
to get that content. And I love talking about blogs on the podcast and just in general. I love blogs. I've started with blogs. Obviously, I podcast now, but creating that content that's valuable to people, that doesn't only help you with your SEO, but it also helps you with the greater community. It helps you with your clients. Because if you can give them that small win, you automatically prove to them that you are someone that they want to work
Right.
with.
Yeah, it makes you an authority, right? If you're solving problems or answering questions that people are asking, you've shown that you are the authority in that space. So totally.
100% agree. So, from your experience, what prevents private practice owners from building their websites to begin with?
Oh man. Oh, well, we could open up a whole kind of PTSD for people because websites are not something that come naturally to a lot of clinic owners, which is why with our software, clinic sites, we wanted to make it as easy to use as possible. Kayla, in the old days, people either did it themselves. So like maybe they even had to code it themselves, which they're not coders. I'm not even a coder and I own a website company. So I'm not a coder. They're not coders. So you had a smart nephew or uncle that did it, or even do a little quid pro quo with a patient that they did it. And the problem is if you don't manage your own site, if someone else does it, then now all of a sudden when you need a change or the tweak or add something, if you're always codependent relying on them, you're in big trouble because now you're at the mercy of them being available. Maybe they're out of business. Maybe they don't have a business. Maybe they're just sick of you emailing them. Maybe Thanksgiving dinner has never quite been the same ever since they did your website for you. Maybe they're not a patient anymore. They've gone on to someone else or something else. And so they're unreachable. And now your website just sits there. Well, if your website just sits there long enough, it's just going to collect dust and you're going to be even embarrassed about it. And I think a lot of people don't talk about their website because they're just frankly embarrassed about it. It's a source of pain for them rather than a source of joy. It's a liability instead of an investment for them. And I think that's a huge deterrent for people that even maybe they've been burned before. It's kind of like John Bon Jovi, right? The song about shot through the heart and you're to blame. You gave love a bad name. Well, what I know about Bon Jovi is he wrote an epic ballad right after that song called Bed of Roses. He didn't give up on love, even though this person wrecked love for him. And I think that we shouldn't give up on websites, even though somebody has wrecked our website experience because something happened that we relied on them. We trusted them. We were very vulnerable with them. And then something happened. That happens all the time. I used to think that when we were talking about websites for clinic owners, that they would just embrace us like a junior high lover for the first time, discovering romance and love. And then I realized we're actually working with a bunch of divorcees here who have had bad experiences in the past. And now they're coming to us saying, I know I need this, but I'm not sure I can handle more heartbreak anymore. And I think to get over dramatic a little bit here, that's what it's like with websites as people say, maybe I can run my business without thinking about my website because it just seems like it's too much pain or problems to do it again. Everyone's got different experiences, but everyone seems to come with a sob story. Either it's too difficult to manage on their own, or they got burned by someone else, they got ripped off by someone else. The best part, actually, the one answer that I like is I'm too busy. I'm too busy. I don't need any more patients. Therefore, I don't need a website. However, we forget the second and third one of you may be too busy with too many patients, but would you like more time? And would you like to serve your community with another asset, which would be your website? So why don't people do it? If it's because they're too busy, that's okay. But if it's because they've been burned or it's too hard, we can get them over that with clinic sites, I believe. At least that's why when I said like we've had 8 years to solve the problems of the websites, like those are some of the questions you learn in year 1 and year 2. How do we help people empower them to manage their own websites, to build their own websites? And so then the last few years, we've just been trying to get the word out about what we're doing. So Jane's been a great advocate for us in that way because they're probably our best supporter right now as it stands. So,
Well, actually, let's dig into how Jane has been a big part of this, and also the integration with the websites, because many listeners use practice management systems, specifically Jane, but some people use other practice management systems as well. And just knowing how to integrate your website with your practice management system can help you save time. And
Yeah.
again, be a resource, because people can easily access you no matter if it's midnight or 6 in the morning, and you don't have to do anything but just
Totally.
have those slots available.
Yeah, I don't know how people did it before tools like Jane were out there, when you would just get an email or a call or a text late at night when you're half asleep or watching a hockey game or out with friends, and you all of a sudden you get a text or an email or a call saying, "Hey, can I come in tomorrow?" Like, that would be so annoying to have to open up your book and figure out whether you could put them in. That was the only way to make money as a solo practitioner. And all of a sudden Jane comes along and says, "You know what? We can book appointments when you're in your sleep." So that was one way that a practice management system would work really well. The other one that we picked up on was, I mean, I might need to give a little bit of context for this, but we got time, right, Kayla? Can I tell a story? Okay, so the story is that I grew up actually with the founders of Jane, Trevor and Ali, and they were good friends of mine. And we had just built these businesses, and with life and kids and busyness and everything takes over, we had drifted. I had moved out of town and stuff, and reconnected with them in St. Louis, of all places, at a chiropractor conference. And we went out to dinner one night to PF Chang's to reconnect. And over a meal, we just said, like, why are we not serving our clients better together? We were always referring to Jane. They needed a solution to help their clients with their websites. And so Clinic Sites was born out of that, was just like doubling down on helping Jane clients and really focusing at that point on clinic owners. So after that meal, I called up my brother, who's much more smarter than I am, who designed this website platform. And he said we could actually integrate with Jane more, in a way that no one else is doing it. And what we can do is we can pull over their clinic name, their address, their practitioners, their disciplines. In fact, anything they do, their colors even, we can pull all that stuff, their bio pictures and their bios. We'll bring it all over if they just give us their Jane link. So with a Jane link, we can actually build a website that's 85% done. And that was when the magic happened, was that because when someone's setting up Jane, they're already giving all this information, right? Like I said, address, service providers, services, pictures, you're uploading, you're picking your colors, you're uploading your logo. They're already doing all this stuff. You shouldn't have to do it twice when you're building out your website. So we take your Jane link and then populate your site. And the cool thing, Kayla, that's just brand new, is that you tell us your disciplines and your bio, we can build out your whole website or a lot of your website with AI filling in the rest. So it's pretty neat to see that a website can be built in now 15 minutes when it used to take like 15 weeks and 15,000, whereas it doesn't cost that at all anymore. So
I think that's really great for listeners to hear, because going back to my intro, it's like being able to create a website in an hour. And I'm sure when I've said that, people were like, no, that's impossible. But when you have all of these pieces already integrated, if you're using Jane, you've already put the footwork in behind it. And with that, you can easily take that information and just go with it, run with it, right? Get your website up super, super quick. So I love that. And we are going to talk a little bit more about the integration in a little bit, but I want to get to something that I think is really important. So when it comes to building a practice website, what are the important elements for listeners to consider or think about or focus on for that website to actually be successful?
mm-hmm. Yeah, I've geeked out about this for years. And so I could spend an hour answering this question, and I would spare everybody that. If they are really interested, they want to go deeper, then you can just find some publicly accessible webinars that are available where I just went through the 4 essentials of a website. So this is not new to me, probably not new to many people. It might even come intuitive. But if I do trigger something that's interesting, then you can Google my name and the 4 essentials of a clinic website, and there'll be plenty of webinars out there or podcasts. So here goes, Kayla. Just really quickly, the Cole's notes would be the first thing that you need is design. Website has to look good. Like I said, we're still very visual people, and we care about visual personally. We care about other people's visuals. If you went into any business and the front door, what you went through, and it was just a big mess, garbage all over the place, and dated furniture and everything looks like it's from the 1980s, you're probably going to make a judgment about that. Same thing with a website. Design has to be clean. The images have to be relevant, not totally cluttered with words everywhere, every square pixel with more words. It has to just be different. If you think of like an Apple website, like they do design so well. It's just clean, lots of space for the eyes to breathe. Design matters. Secondly, though, design is not the only important thing because you need good words and the clear words and patient-centric words. Sometimes we fill our websites with words about us. And the truth is people don't really care about us as much as they care about themselves. So everyone's kind of dialed into this WIIFM. What's in it for me? Okay, what's in it for me? People are going to your website not because they want to learn about you, because they want to learn, can you help them? So what's in it for me? If you think about your ideal patient and the words that they need to hear, those are the words you have to put on. And so we need to have a framework for this. Just a resource that I've been recommending for a while that I think is still one of the best books on this idea of finding the right words is a book called Building a Story Brand, written by a guy named Don Miller. So the book came out probably 7 years ago. It's sold 1 million copies, New York Times bestseller. It captures the power of story so well. And essentially, every one of your patients is the hero of a story looking to win. And they need to go to your website to see that you're going to help them win. They're coming to your website because they've got a problem. You need to agitate that problem, talk about the problem that you solve, and then show them how you're the best choice to solve that problem so they can achieve a happily ever after. And then call them to action. Make sure that big, beautiful button, schedule an appointment. In fact, all the things that I put on a website, the only thing that really matters is the moneymaker button, which is schedule an appointment. So that writing is so important when you think of an essential of a website. Thirdly, search engine optimization, SEO. There'll be no mystery to a lot of people listening. It's important when people are looking for you on Google that they're going to find you. And so you need to make sure that the keywords are in place and you just make your website Google friendly. We're not trying to hack Google. We're not trying to be deceptive. We're just trying to say when people are looking for us, we want to show up. And that's what Google is trying to do, is help people that are looking for you find you. So we want to make that as easy as possible for Google by playing by some of its rules. Fourthly, and finally, I would say that the platform is so important. The platform that you build your website on is important because life is moving quick. And I was saying this pre-pandemic. Right? Imagine before the pandemic, someone says, you know what? It's probably not good if your web designer is the only one who can make changes to your website. It's not good if your nephew is the only one who can make changes to your website. The reason is something could happen to that person and now you're stuck. Or they stop answering your emails or they stop picking up the phone. If you are able to make changes, then you can change things like your pandemic rules or your pandemic hours or your pandemic position or what should we do about masks in the office. So pre-pandemic, I was saying this, and then post-pandemic, anybody that wasn't able to manage their website got completely nailed. This is a big problem. So if there's ever any pandemics coming again, which we hope not, if there's any reason why something might need to be changed on your website, that's probably more likely. At least we hope it's more likely that you will add somebody or remove somebody or add a service or remove a service or add a blog or whatever it is to nurture your website. You need to be able to manage your own website. And so the platform is so important. If the platform is difficult, then you're not going to do it. So platform is important. And maybe I would say maybe one last thing, because things are getting more complicated, it does help to have somebody around that you can ask questions to. And that's why with clinic sites, we've always made sure that there is a human being on the other line, not a chatbot, not just a forum from 8 years ago with some advice about how a website could be. You need to have somebody helping you through it. And that's why with clinic sites, we've always had human tech support as the most important thing. But always last, you need to be able to do it yourself first. And then sometimes you do have questions. You need to have somebody there to help you with that question.
I love good customer service because I've been with a few website platforms in the past. I do my own website now, but when you have to contact someone either through email or through that bot, it's like you're waiting for a response forever and it just doesn't work. That's one thing I love about Jane as well, is that Jane always has humans on the other end. And not only do they have humans, you're not waiting very long. I know I've only had to call for 2 tech issues before, and I literally got someone as if I was calling a friend. I would like literally call and I'm expecting to hear like press this or say this, like when you call big companies, and then it's like, hello, someone from Jane, and I'm like, oh, So it's almost like you're calling a friend. And that's what you're saying. It's like you want that human connection, someone who can actually be able to support you versus just someone over a chat box, especially if you're less techy, right? If you're more techy, maybe it's fine. But most therapists and most clinic owners didn't go into private practice because they are techy. That is the exact opposite of why
Totally.
they went into private practice.
Right.
So absolutely love it. The other thing I think is really interesting too, as a business coach, I've noticed when you talked about that book appointment, sometimes we're afraid to put that on our website. And sometimes we might put it on the contact page only.
Right.
But yeah, that book appointment is your moneymaker, is your golden
Hmm.
nugget. So that needs to be accessible. It doesn't have to be peppered throughout, but it still needs to be at least on every page once. But sometimes, depending on how long that page is, maybe even twice, because you want to make it super, super easy for your ideal client to be able to book that appointment. You don't want them to have to go through all of your website and then go to contact, because the truth is, if they get bored, they're not going to do it. If they want to book an appointment now, they know they want to book an appointment now. So have a
Yeah.
button easily and accessible, just like you said.
Yeah. Yeah. Imagine that in any other business, right? That with not having a checkout. And you go to that business, maybe you've got some items and you're carrying them around in your hand, you're ready to go, you're ready to check out, you want to pay for them, and then you find somebody that works there, they're in a uniform, you say, hey, where's the checkout? They say, actually, well, it's just down the hall here, and then you take a left, your second left, actually, you're going to go down another hall, up some stairs, past the janitor's closet, take another left and to a right, and then go down some stairs. Now you've gone up some stairs, you go down some stairs, and there's going to be a checkout there for you. What are you going to do? You're going to say, you know what? It's too hard to check out here. I'm going to put down my stuff and I'm walking. I'm going to go
Yeah, I'm
find
going to
somewhere
walk
that's
out the
easier.
door.
Totally. I'm not going to go through that long process just to check out. I'm going to go find someone else. How many people, I wonder, have exited out of a website because it just was too difficult to give them the money to take the next step? That's a haunting thought.
I would agree 100%. So, for less techie therapists or coaches who are listening, how can they overcome, say, the tech overwhelm that they might be experiencing with websites?
Well, I'm sure there's some counselors here listening or people in mental health that have advised their own patients, clients. If you're overwhelmed by something, sometimes you just have to face it rather than avoid it. Avoidance is not going to get you anywhere. I think that if you're going to have a business today, you have to have some kind of tech skill or find a partner that has some kind of tech skill. But you still need to know what your partner's talking about when they're talking about tech. And so it's just a rite of passage these days in business, in our tech world, that you have to have some level of tech. So you have to try it and you have to start and dip your toe in the water and then put your foot in the water and then go to your knees and then jump in, right? So even if you're completely untechy, you still probably have social media, you still probably use a phone. So you do have a body of work that shows that you can manage some kind of tech. And the way you did it was the programmer made it simple enough, but then you also explored with it. So given our topic today is websites, I would say if you're having a hard time, maybe just try it. You can start a free Clinic Sites account. It's not going to charge you anything. You don't even have to enter your credit card. You just give your Jane link and start an account and then just start playing around with the website and see if you can figure it out.
Amazing. So, for therapists who are currently using Jane or considering using Jane as their practice management software, how does having a Jane integration with their website help them?
Yeah. So I don't want to repeat myself too much. You could probably go back and listen to all the story of what we did. Those things are still true. Just give us your Jane link. If you give us your Jane link, we know that your publicly accessible logo, who you have on your team. We know your contact information. So we just bring all that stuff over with the connection to Jane that we have. It's an API call, which is a geeky term for just the software talks to each other. And so we'll bring all that stuff over. And then your website's like 85% done. By that point, you just have to customize some things. But if you've entered something into Jane, we can bring it over onto your website, with like your bio, like the services that you offer, like your location, all that nitty gritty stuff that even as a web designer, I hate building. I hate building websites without a Jane link attached to them because it represents 3 hours of work, even on my end. So totally annoying, but the manual way, you can still do it. So if you're not a Jane customer, you can still build a great website through Clinic Sites, but it just the magic happens with the Jane link.
Fabulous. Do you have any additional advice or insights for therapists and coaches who are interested in building their website with clinic sites?
Yeah, I would just say you got to try it out. And there's little surprises that come along the way that I don't want to give away the surprise because it is fun. But when you sign up, like you realize, whoa, I don't have to do this alone. Like there's actually people who are showing up to work today excited to help me out. So I'm not alone in this. And that's one of the things that people often feel is that they're all by themselves trying to figure it out. But if you realize that you have a team of people rooting for you who are on the coding end trying to make your life easier, and just on the personal end, they're going to send you a gift and call you up and say, hey, can I help you with anything today? And those are just the things that are nice to know when you're building a website. Like, it's not like these people are trying to take something from me. They're trying to help me because that's what they were hired to do. So hope that helps.
And I love that, and something like we did touch on, but how Clinic Sites was kind of born out of a conversation with Allie and Trevor, the
Mhm.
owners of Chain. And it shows that there's this partnership. This isn't two different companies. These are people who are actually talking to one another, who are supporting one another. And I think that collaborative approach is really important because often when we think of outsourcing in our businesses, we often outsource to a bunch of individual people who don't necessarily talk to each other, whether virtually or actually, like in human form.
Mhm.
And even hearing that your name is Clinic Sites, you focus on working with clinics. This isn't just a website designer who services any type of business.
Right.
You know what works and what doesn't work when it comes to therapists and coaches and any other type of healthcare provider. And I think that that's really important. And going back to the Jane integration, and I know listeners know that I'm an ambassador for Jane and I really support it, but I was always a customer before. And since we've met, I've feel the exact same connection I do with the Jane team. It's all about how do we support the people around us. And
Mhm.
I think you don't always get that with companies, especially when it comes to that customer service, when it comes to how you treat people. Just having someone there to support you and who knows your field almost just as good as you do.
Exactly. I totally agree. And like I said, you don't have to do this alone. There's other people that are there to help. And Jane and Clinic Sites are one example of companies that share a common customer and work together. They have conferences, they have meetings, they have all day retreats just to say, how do we help these people serve more? And yeah, that's the beauty of business is that I'm always optimistic when it comes to what is business. I think businesses exist to solve problems and to lead to human flourishing. So I want to help people who are helping other people flourish. And we create tools to do that.
So let's talk about cost. I know for many therapists, the cost of building a website can either make or break their decision to invest. How much does it cost to sign up with Clinic Sites, and what can listeners expect to receive within the overall cost?
So it costs nothing to sign up and to start an account. So that's basically to the exploratory phase. You're just trying to figure out, is this the right software for me? There's going to be no cost for that. And you're going to get some help even making that decision through the Clinic Sites team. So that's just go to clinicsites.co. The big button there is start a site and you just start it. And like we've been talking about, some people will still resist and they just want some help. And Clinic Sites even has an option for that. And even if you want some help on the creative side, Clinic Sites is not against getting a nephew or a friend or a patient to help you build the site. You can still get help there if someone wants to help because the technology is savvy enough for people that want to build great sites. So you can still hire someone to do that and invest in your money there. But if you want to invest your time and just explore, we're trying to save you as much time with the AI integration that's going to do some of the writing for you and pick some of the pictures for you. And then once you're live, the cost is $39 a month, or maybe I'll say the investment is $39 a month because we don't want it to be a liability. A liability is going to cost you money. It's another thing on the budget that sucks away your hard-earned money. We don't want to do that. We want to make you money. We want to save you time. If you save more time and make more money, then that $39 a month is going to be the best thing. And what that covers is hosting the website, the Jane integration, if you've got it, the protection of the website. And so it's going to be SSL certification, which just means there's a big, beautiful lock on the top left of your website saying this website is secure. If you don't have that and your website is insecure, that's not a good look for you, right? So it's going to be something you have to pay for either way. And then also the human tech support that you're going to get and the ongoing development. So we're actually always going to be working on your website, making it faster, doing some of the back end stuff because when we make one improvement for one of our clients, it improves all of their sites as well. So that goes for the $39. To me, Kayla, it's the best deal on the internet, but there's a lot of good deals out there, especially in the tech world. But this is a great deal. I think it's a very good deal. So
So to sign up for a free Clinic Sites account, head to clinicsites.co. That's clinicsites.co. Or you can simply scroll down to the show notes and click on the link. Jon, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today and providing us with some helpful tips on building a practice website, as well as giving us this great low monthly cost option to build our websites quickly that's fully integrated with Jane.
Thanks so much, Kayla. My final words are just thankfulness to you. I know how much you serve this community and how much you love them. It's just been so apparent in preparing for this time and now during. I just know that you love your listeners and want to serve them. And that's just inspiring to meet someone who has that passion.
Oh, thank you so much. And I do. Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for tuning into today's episode. And I hope you join me again soon on the Designer Practice Podcast. Until next time, bye for now. Please be advised that the podcast advertisements and links in this episode may be affiliate and/or sponsor links where Evaspare Inc. and the Designer Practice Podcast receive compensation for sales or signups made through link clicks. This helps the Designer Practice Podcast continue to provide free and valuable content to you each week. Thank you, and we appreciate your support.